Town of Littleton Conservation Commission, July 9, 2024 at 7:31 p.m. We're going to go ahead and approve, hopefully, two sets of minutes. The first that I'd like to address is June 4, 2024. Does anyone have any omissions or corrections? I know it was a short meeting. Good. If there are no edits, do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve the Conservation Commission minutes of June 4th, 2024.
Chase has moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Michael, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Roll call vote. Ed Foltz.
Yep.
Ed Foltz, aye.
Michael Livingston.
Michael Livingston, aye.
Chase Gerbig.
Chase Gerbig, aye.
Sarah Seward.
Sarah Seward, aye.
And myself, Kyle Maxfield, aye. Passes unanimously.
Thank you. And now we're going to roll over to the June 18th, 2024. Do we have any omissions or corrections for those minutes for the Conservation Commission?
Well, I'll only note that I was not present.
Yep, neither was I. Yep.
I'll move to approve the Littleton Conservation Commission minutes of June 18th, 2024.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ed. Okay.
Roll call vote. Ed Foltz.
Ed Foltz, aye.
Michael Livingston.
Do I get to vote if I wasn't there?
Yes, this is administrative, so you do. Otherwise, you don't have quorum.
As long as you have read the minutes, though.
There'll be a test later.
Yes,
All right.
much later.
Chase Gerbig.
Chase Gerbig, aye.
Sarah Seward.
Sarah Seward, aye.
And myself, Kyle Maxfield, aye. Passes unanimously.
Okay, great. Does anyone have anything that they would like to add for administrative discussions? I have two. Does anyone have anything?
I
Okay.
think probably have the
Yep.
ones you have, which is
Yep. The first will be, first is a reminder that on July 23rd, there's a meeting. We're starting at 7 o'clock, and that's with SVT. So this is your gentle reminder that I would like everyone to try and be there. Kyle, Andrew, and myself saw the presentation before. It's really valuable. So I do hope that you all can try and attend, and Amy or Tim will send out a reminder to that. And then I would like to add to this discussion, Keolis has brought forth an issue with the beavers. And so I would like to add that to this administrative discussion. So let's go ahead. If no one has anything else, let's start with request of certificate of compliance, 49 Porter Road, Mass DEP 204-0315, in addition to 59 Porter, which is Mass DEP 204-0653. Amy?
I think you could vote these both at the same time if you're so inclined. This was for some work that Sprint did fairly ages ago. The older one was for the original construction of the access road and the tower, and then the second one was for an expansion, most of which is just barely in the buffer zone anyway, and it's all stable.
Okay. Anyone? We have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we issue certificate of compliances for 49 Porter and 59 Porter, Mass CP numbers 204-0315 and Mass CP number 204-0653.
Excellent. I second.
Okay, roll call vote. Ed Foltz.
Ed Foltz, aye.
Michael Livingston.
Michael Livingston, aye.
Chase Gerbig.
Chase Gerbig, aye.
Sarah Seward.
Sarah Seward, aye.
And myself, Kyle Maxfield, aye.
Okay, thank you. Request for a certificate of compliance, 25 Juniper, Mass DEP 204-0964.
Yes, if you remember, this was the after the fact for the patio. This is Rob Brown's property, and I believe there's a bunch of different stuff that had to be done on this property. The removal of the retaining wall, there was some regrading. He was treating some knotweed, and he planted a bunch of natives. I think he did maybe over double what we asked of him. So the site is stable. All the work's been completed in compliance with the order, and is It's good to go.
Okay, great. Do we have a motion?
Move that we provide the certificate of compliance for 25 Juniper Mass DEP 204-0964.
Okay, I second.
Any roll call vote? Ed Schultz,
Ed Foltz, aye.
Michael Livingston,
Michael Livingston, aye.
Chase Gervig,
Chase Gerbeck, aye.
Sarah Seward,
Sarah Seward, aye.
and myself, Kyle Maxfield, aye. Also passes unanimously.
Awesome. Thank you. Request for
And
certificate.
Sarah, would you mind jumping to the keyless beaver thing since he is here and then he can
Sure.
talk about leave? Again, this is just
And is that Rob?
yes.
Okay. Rob, if you want to introduce yourself, and if I'm not sure if you have a plan of exactly where you're having a beaver issue, if you have any plans or anything, that would be great.
All right. Well, good evening. My name is Rob D. I'm from A1 Exterminators, and we're contracted through Keolis to deal with basically to protect their tracks when they have wildlife issues. In this particular case, we have a culvert that is going beneath the rail bed where the rail goes in between, basically cuts Mill Pond in half. There's a culvert beneath it, and that is getting basically dammed up by the beavers. So we want to be able to breach the dam and install, depending upon which part of the state you're from, either beaver deceiver, beaver piping, or a flow device. I'm not sure what your particular area calls it, but it's a perforated pipe that goes through the dam in one particular section, and the mouth of the pipe is then caged off so that basically to make it much more difficult for them to dam up.
And can you tell us what side the dam is on in terms
I
of?
believe the dam is on the eastern side. I believe. I have the pictures of it, but it doesn't show me which side it's on.
Okay. Can you share those, please?
I could, but they're actually on a different device. I will send them in.
Do you have those, Tim?
Let me check.
Let me see if I can send them to an email.
It would take a minute.
You probably sent them originally though, Rob, didn't you?
I believe I actually sent them in to the Board of Health,
Oh,
so that doesn't really help you guys.
okay. And what's the Board of Health stand on this point? Because they are.
They're waiting for approval from the Conservation Commission for the breachment.
Okay. And what is your time of breach? Proposed
We
breach?
don't have one yet, but it would hopefully be by the end of this month.
Okay. I'm kind of rusty on the dates that it's permitted. Are we within those dates or out of the dates?
I assume if it was trapping, we're outside the dates, but this isn't trapping. So my understanding is get the emergency certification from the Board of Health.
Yep.
And the Concom would react to that with our own
Right.
emergency certification if the Concom is so amenable. Once the Board of Health calls it an emergency, you guys can't say it's not. But
Right.
in the emergency certification, you can put on conditions if you're so inclined.
Rob, when are you meeting with Board of Health?
Once I have everything set up here, I'll be dropping off the actual documents probably later this week.
Okay. Commissioners' thoughts?
How is the Board of Health involved in what appears to be just a flooding of railroad track?
I
It's
can
very,
answer that.
yep. Go ahead, Rob. Yep.
So for the state of Massachusetts, anytime you're doing any kind of trapping out of season or dam breachment or anything like that, anything that deals with public water supply with beavers or any kind of public waterway, the Board of Health gets the original 10-day emergency permit for us to go in and do the work. If we're unable to complete the work in that 10-day time frame, then it goes to a 30-day permit that's given through the state. For the trapping purposes, you only need the Board of Health approval.
Mhm.
However, for anything further than that, dam breaching, anything, because that affects possible, like if the dam's been there for 20 years,
Sure.
you know, you've now got a waterway and wetlands that you guys are involved with protecting. So that's why we have to come through the Conservation Commission first. I'm
Thanks.
trying to send those pictures over to Tim now.
Putting that perforated pipe through the dam has been pretty effective for basically it lets the water go through, I'm assuming.
Correct. And it limits the amount of trapping you have to do. So, for example, if we were having this issue and we went in and just tried to solve it with trapping, likely we're going to be there every year or every other year removing beavers from the population. Whereas if you put the piping in, you can usually get anywhere from 20 to 50 years out of it before you ever have any issues.
Rob, who actually will maintain the pipe once it's installed? Who takes ownership for that?
So Keolis will be monitoring it, and if there's any issues with it, they contact me.
Okay. Commissioners, any other questions? I know we're waiting for.
What happens with the current dam, I guess?
So most
or how established is this dam? I guess would be my first question.
it's not too much. So it just appeared this year.
Okay.
And most of it is probably going to remain. We're just going to be digging down into the middle of it to run the pipe through. The pipe's about a 12-inch pipe, and it's about 20 feet long.
And Rob, do you know what the water elevation difference is between the upstream and downstream side? Is roughly, like, are we talking inches? Are we talking feet?
At the moment, we're only talking inches.
Okay.
As I said, this is a fairly new dam.
Are you doing all this work in the wet? Are you going to be putting up some sort of your own dam upstream?
No, so we go in and basically we do it all in either waders or depending upon the temperature. Like if we were doing it today, I would actually be out there in my swim trunks. But we get right in the water with them.
Does this result in a decrease in the beaver population?
A temporary one, possibly. The breachment wouldn't. If we have to trap, which I haven't determined yet, the most we try to remove is 2 to 4, because those would be the specific beavers that would be on there.
Okay, thank you for showing that, Tim.
Yep.
So, commissioners, just remember this is for this discussion. It's actually a 2-part process. So, I feel comfortable with that to support this because it still has to go on to Board of Health as well. So, I feel comfortable making a motion to support the application for a dam breachment and installment of what we would call a beaver deceiver on. Do we have a number for Mill Road? Like approximately?
Let me see if I can find a property abutting it on my map.
I can put in the lot and block number, the parcel
Okay.
number.
Yeah, so that would be great. So that's my motion.
And this is specifically to issue an emergency certification.
Correct. Yep.
And I would suggest, unless you've got anything else, that you add the condition that if there's any permit extensions that the Board of Health issues, that carries forward with this, so you don't have to keep voting it.
Do we want to use a 10-day or go right to the 30-day?
30 days through the state, right? So
Yeah, I'd start with a 10-day, and then if they
Okay.
can't do it in 10 days, Board of Health will go through and get the 30-day extension. And if you have that condition, it'll automatically extend your
Okay.
emergency
My
certificate.
motion is for the 10 days.
second that. All right, so roll call vote then.
Yep.
Ed
Thank you.
Foltz,
Ed Foltz, aye.
Michael Livingston,
Michael Livingston, aye.
Chase Gervig,
Chase Gerbig, aye.
Sarah Seward,
Sarah Seward, aye.
and myself, Kyle Mansfield, aye.
Okay.
I will send it around for signatures.
Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Let's try and get one more request for certificate of compliance, 30 Mill Lane.
Yep. So
Yeah, 30 mil is one waiting for the grass to grow, and the grass has grown.
Okay, so that's
Septic
Mass
system.
DEP 204-0990. I make a motion that we issue a certificate of compliance for that Mass DEP number.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Ed Fultz,
Ed Foltz, aye.
Michael Livingston,
Michael Livingston, aye.
Chase Gerbic,
Chase Kirby guy.
Sarah Seward,
Sarah Seward, aye.
myself, Kyle Maxwell, aye.
Okay. Let's do one more request for tree removal, Matawanaki Beach #2.
This, Chuck Bush would like to do this. This is on, one of the lake beaches, the association beaches. He just couldn't make it tonight. I think you had seen the pictures that went around, and maybe some of you actually went over there and saw it. There's two very large trees. The red oak on the left, which is a split, clearly has stress factors in it, and it looks like, you know, a hole at the base of it. And what I think is a red oak on the right is very heavily covered in ivy at this point, and the canopy is sitting out and branches are falling off it. The one with the ivy on it is like 97 feet. And the other one I think it was 60 something, although it's I don't know, 3 or 4 foot trunk to go with it.
Right.
So
I
the
want
question is if you would just authorize, or if you're going to ask for an RDA, or how you want to move ahead.
Has anyone gone out to the site? I went out today. Has anyone else been out there? So, definitely both trees have concern. The oak on the left has a very low fork, which is really concerning, and that's where the stress kind of fracture is, and then there is a significant hole. But as it comes up, it then continues to fork yet again. So, I feel comfortable with the removal of both. I don't know where you'd actually cut it off. I'd like to still keep something there. You can keep the signs there, and I guess just above the fork on the oak on the left, and then the tree on the right. I don't know how much value there is. It's going to be very interesting to get those trees down. There's a tremendous amount of wires in that area.
Yeah. Yeah, what they would like to do is the oak on the left that splits, is they would cut it above the signs. So they still keep the signs there. The one on the right, they would, I mean, it's on a little bit of a bank. You know, they flush cut it as best they could, but they'll be leaving the stump.
Yep. I think if either of those two, if any of the even if a branch comes down, there's just so many prominent wires there that I think it's going to be a chain reaction down to the water if something happens. Anyone have any comments or questions?
Are we looking to just make this an administrative item for you, Amy? Is that?
Yeah, I think if you could take a vote that you know agree that the agent can approve these administratively, then we'll just have the record of it.
Would someone like to make that motion?
I move that we approve an administrative approval to the agent for tree removal at Matawanaki Beach #2.
I second.
A roll call vote. Ed Fultz,
Ed Foltz, aye.
Michael Livingston,
Michael Livingston, aye.
Chase Gerbic,
Chase Kirby guy.
Sarah Seward,
Sarah Seward, aye.
and myself, Kyle Maxwell, aye.
All right, continued discussion enforcement order 30 Warren Street. Unpermitted construction of a walkway within the buffer zone and work in the rear area. Update on that, Amy? Have they been able to connect?
I haven't talked to him recently. Tim sent him an email this morning to see what was going on, and haven't heard back. I had talked to Chuck Karen, who's going to be the consultant on this, probably at least 2 weeks ago, and it was on his list. I believe he will probably have something by July 23rd, but we are trying to get that confirmed with the owner.
Okay. That would be great if we can follow up on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go ahead. We'll come back to one of the other items. Let's do public hearing notice of intent, 13 Winged Cove Road. There's no Mass DEP number. It's U48-16-0. There's a bylaw waiver required, demolition and reconstruction of existing house and associated work. Who's here to speak to that?
I'm Kyle Mann, the homeowner at 13 Wind Cove Road. I'm going to share my screen. I marked up the plan with some color so it's easier to look at here on the computer. So I have the existing home and a little bit of it, and the deck is inside the 50. So a little bit of work would be done inside the 50-foot buffer as far as just demolition goes. The entire proposed structure and deck is out of the 50-foot buffer, but is in the well into the 100-foot, as the entire existing home is as well. So, up to any questions you guys have?
So I guess to just come up with history. So this is a total demolition and reconstruction?
Yes.
Okay. So, okay, I'm just trying to see what is there now and what's proposed.
So the existing is outlined in red, and the proposed is outlined in green. I have the proposed deck outlined in the yellow there, but the existing deck I actually didn't outline, but that's coming out into the you know, where my cursor's going right now. But the red marking is existing, and this green, the corners here, is proposed.
Okay. Kyle,
So
what's the percentage increase within the 100? Because now you're increasing
Percentage of, so increased inside the 100 is 165 square feet increase.
Kyle, is that based on what's written on your plans?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to talk about those though, because the numbers written on the plans don't align with what my eyeball sees here, right? So you say that the proposed house isn't in the 50. Well, there's a corner of it in the 50. There's proposed stairs. Those don't appear to be counted. So like, help me understand where are those numbers coming from?
So this
that
is
are on
the
the
50.
plan?
This is the 50-foot buffer here. This blue.
Mhm.
There's no corner of the proposed structure. The proposed is here. I could scale and tell you exactly how far out of the 50 it is. I have a copy right here. And
Sorry, the proposed deck is what I was getting at.
the proposed deck is outside the 50 as well. Those stairs are not going to be constructed like that. I don't know how they ended up actually being on there like that, but this was kind of put together and coming to the meeting. Obviously, things are going to kind of be tweaked around a little bit, I'm sure. But so these stairs are not going to be constructed like this. But anyways, the deck itself is outside of the 50, and the part of the plan revision will be the stairs also outside of the 50. And as far as the square footage goes, it was done with the engineer through, you know, his methods. They're exact.
There looks like there's two sets of stairs and some kind of
These
something to
stairs
which
are
they're
existing.
attached.
These stairs here are existing. These are not here. This is part of what he had as proposed on there.
But what is that other part, that square part with the 217? There's a big.
So the
big
217 is
rectangle.
just a contour line. That's part of the existing.
That
deck.
right there.
So
What is
where
that?
where I'm moving my cursor right now is the existing deck.
And that's coming down?
Yes. Yeah, so that where my cursor is moving is, you know, the existing deck, and the existing deck runs down the entire side of the building and then returns right here to the existing structure. So it
And you're
runs
taking
down.
out the retaining wall too, to the,
Yeah, on this left side here. Yes, that'll be removed. And there's very minimal grading with the construction itself. In reality, the basement floor is remaining the exact same height as existing. So we're just kind of taking the whole thing and moving it back. So there's a substantial grade change on the property from you can see from like the floodplain here to the basement floor is 10 feet. And then from there to the front yard is another 7 feet. So we'll just be digging into into the existing land here for the proposed cellar hole, and then the existing grades will essentially mesh up to the foundation, and we just have these couple little contour lines just to show how simply basically it's going to connect.
So, Kyle, as I'm looking at this, I was struggling to understand the plan sets. I think next time we come in and discuss this, it would be very helpful to the commission to have three different images here. One is this, right, where everything's overlaid. But I think we need to have a plan set that is just the existing conditions and one that is just the proposed work. We still would want to see, I would want to see the buffer zones on there, but it's very challenging here to figure out what's staying and what's going. And I understand you've got leaders off of things.
So
and
what's
stuff like that,
staying
but-
is in red. And
No, I understand that.
What's
I'm
going
not
is in
asking
red.
for a narration. I'm asking for a drawing that shows what's staying and what's going.
It was requested of me to color the plan up. I would have provided that for you guys if you needed it.
Well, but
Yeah.
to be fair, you always have to color plans.
Yeah.
So plan
Okay.
1, 2, and 3 going forward have to be colored. So
Yeah.
The coloring
so
is
I
not
can
the-
answer. I
coloring's not
understand
the
the plan
issue.
extremely well. So any questions you guys have, I'm
No,
happy.
I'm not asking for a narration. I'm going to be really clear. I want 3 plans: one with the overlay, one with the existing conditions, one with the new conditions.
I cannot stress enough how very easy and clean this plan is to read, and I understand it very well and can answer any questions you have. And if you actually, sit down and look at the plan, it's extremely easy to understand. Down on the bottom right side, I have the square footage is broken down, very detailed and all that. Essence.
Kyle, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just going to lay this out here right now. You've already said that there are elements on this plan that aren't actually going to be constructed the way that they're shown.
Okay.
So let's just
So
get
I'm going to
a plan
revise
set.
those. I'm going to revise that.
Good. And when you revise them, let's just have 3. It's a matter of turning some layers on and off and printing some PDFs. So let's have 3 plan sets to make it easy.
I'll
to
make sure
follow.
we can all understand the plan. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll do that.
So can I ask a quick question? Because I saw files on this. How long have you owned this property?
2016. So it's been since 2016.
Amy, you want to discuss 2016 minutes?
Yeah, so I actually thought this was an enforcement order, but it went that far. In 2016, there was discussion of violation because about a dozen trees were taken down in the buffer zone. So Kyle had come in to discuss that and also runoff from the driveway that was causing a little bit of erosion and spilling into, let's assume north is up to the south side to the other property and another wetland down there. And Kyle had come in a couple times and had some discussions about what he wanted to do with the tree stumps, whether they're going to be left or ground out. I wasn't clear when I went back through the minutes if that stone patio was built prior to 2016 or after, because the minutes it sounded like he wanted to build the stone patio. So that was sort of a whole separate issue from 2016 that didn't get fully resolved.
Kyle, can you fill in the gaps for that for us?
So in
No.
2016, I removed basically all the trees similar to the ones that we just discussed in the last meeting. We were living here and there were limbs falling constantly. We had little kids. Actually, one limb fell and totaled my wife's car. And basically the week after that, we cut down all the trees. And I had come into some meetings and we discussed what to do. I ended up grinding the stumps. I removed the stumps that are outside of the 50, but I ground the stumps around the property. This stone patio area, there was a lot of existing landscaping walls throughout the property. That's kind of been remodeled, I guess, if you will. So there is, some pavers there and things now. As
Kyle,
far as
can
the
you just
drainage
put your
issue
cursor
goes-
where the trees were that were removed for me, please?
Yeah, they were like all over.
There's one growing through our deck.
They were everywhere.
So they
Yeah.
were on both sides of the retaining wall?
No, I didn't take down any trees on the downhill side of the retaining wall. So we had like a tree growing literally where my cursor is right here. There was a tree growing through our deck. Our deck was actually framed around it. It was a 36-inch pine. And then, you know, we kept these trees. So we didn't take down any trees. Basically, like these two birches remain. There was one like gnarly pine right here that, you know, the same as went through the deck, was dropping branches all over the place and stuff. So there was those couple. No, there were no. These trees are all still large, mature pines that remain along the shoreline, right through here, and to continue down. There's still some. It's heavily wooded on all sides. But yeah, so we took down trees, all trees that were tied up to the house, and there was you know, quite a bit of them uptight right through, like right up on this deck side. The one that fell on my wife's car was right here. And they were just, you know, very unsafe pine trees.
But you did, so just for the commissioners that are new, you didn't have permission to do that at that point.
No.
Okay, commissioners, what would you like to do? We do not have a Mass DEP number.
So let's go back to this patio though. So this area that says stone patio to remain, was that or was that not constructed?
Yeah, this is all constructed area. There was an existing patio here that I have redone. I mean, it looks a hell of a lot better now than it did, but this was all existing construction all through here. There was already walls and a patio and that sort of thing.
That's somewhat curious because I'm looking at an aerial from 2017 and there's no patio present. So I'm trying to understand.
So it was, as you can see from the picture, it's very heavily grown in. So I don't see how you could see anything from that aerial image. But yeah, there was about 6 inches of pine needles all over the entire property. So I would imagine that it'd be difficult to see. We bought the house with about 6 inches of pine needles on the roof as well. So yeah, I would imagine that it was difficult to tell from the aerial.
Amy, in the file, were there any pictures or plans referenced back in 2016? Or when we did the site walk, November 2016?
No, there weren't.
Okay.
And just as a third issue, this would probably be a good opportunity as this goes forward to get that dock permitted under the Wetland Protection Act.
Right, chapter 91.
Just add it under.
Right.
Sir, if it's okay.
Not chapter 91.
Right. I want to run through a few things I think we need to understand here. One, I don't think we have a waiver for this. Is that correct, Amy?
That's correct.
Okay, so we have to have a waiver. Not doing anything without a waiver. Number two is we need to understand this drainage system from the driveway and how that's ultimately going to fit into the new layout of the property and how the runoff is going to be managed from that. Number three here is I want to make sure that we've got Board of Health approval, or at least they've looked at this to go forward. I would be bowled over if they're comfortable with the septic system immediately up gradient from a drinking water well, but maybe they are. So I'm not comfortable going forward until we've gotten meaningful dialogue from the Board of Health.
This doesn't need to go to the Board of Health until I apply for the permit. I have 100-foot offset from that well. The septic system was installed in, I think, 2007, but I can confirm that for the next meeting. It's okay. by no means an old camp.
I want to be really clear. I'm not going forward until I've got something from Jim Careffi that says, yeah, this is directionally reasonable.
Well, the septic design plan from 2007 that has a certificate of compliance says that it is 100%.
Right, we're altering grades though. So.
No, we're not changing any grades in the front yard. The grading.
So you're using the same. Is it on a slab or are we doing a basement?
No, it's as I mentioned before. There's an extreme grade change in the entire property. It's a walkout. The front yard elevations are remaining the exact same. The septic system itself is 112 feet from the existing well. It meets all Title V criteria. The septic is not old. It was installed in 2007. I have a Title V from when I bought the property And there's a certificate. of
And how many
compliance.
bedrooms is the existing house and how many bedrooms is the new house gonna be?
3, and the proposed house is obviously 3 because I'm not upgrading the septic system. So,
Okay.
and that will all go through my permitting process with the building department. I don't know if that actually has anything to do
Again,
with
I'm not gonna go forward until I know that I'm not
well, I'm
asking
not
for a
going to
permit
discuss
from
board
Jim.
of health regs and building regs with you on the conservation meeting. Just doesn't seem, it seems counterproductive for our conversation.
Okay, well, so here's the last piece, and this is probably the biggest one. I am incredibly uncomfortable with the notes on this drawing that essentially say everything's approximate and could change. Either this is a plan or it's not a plan. So I think you need to give us a plan that's actually going to be implemented, and that could mean taking that note off. That's fine. I want to see what's actually going to be built here. And the idea that we've got a plan that we could approve that essentially says everything is approximate, not going to fly. So let's figure out what this actually is going to be.
I don't see one note other than on the septic system that says approximate.
General notes 7, dimensions and elevations pertaining to the proposed dwelling shown hereon are approximate.
Okay. All right. So I can nail that down. In the meantime, is there anything else you guys would like to do so that we don't drag this on longer than we really need to, I guess? Any other notes? I'll get you 3 plans. I'll get
I think,
the approximate changed out to
Yep. So I can speak to that. So like any course of action, we ask for accurate plans and then we'll set a site walk and go from there. So we meet again on.
So you would like to wait for a new set of plans to set a site walk? Because I've seen you guys do site walks when there weren't even any plans. I think it'd be nice moving forward if we could, walk the property and discuss.
Well, you don't have 2 commissioners here tonight, so we're not able to set a site visit. So
I've seen site visits settled via email. Yeah, but I can go along with whatever you guys would like. So I'll provide you with 3 plans and I'll.
Kyle, are you unhappy with?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy.
Because
I'm unhappy with the way I'm being treated in this meeting compared to other meetings that I've seen in the past. But yeah, I'm unhappy that other people make a phone call and have site walks, and I have a very accurate plan. But there are a couple of notes on it that I can revise. But in the meantime, I think it'd be nice if we could walk the property and discuss to keep the process moving forward rather than prolong it. I would appreciate that, and I think that that is not unreasonable.
But with due regard, you just acknowledged that you took down trees and put in walkways without permission. So
I did not put in any walkways without permission, and I never said that, not once.
So that the patio is existing. That was there when you bought it. I thought.
Yeah, I did some remodeling.
You said earlier that you had upgraded it.
I added no square footage of anything. I didn't do that. And let's be clear, when the trees got cut down, people were here in like 4 hours. I didn't even have a plan or anything like that. Everybody joined in. So now I have a proposed plan. But if we can, all right.
So Ed, you were speaking. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that the plan that you're presenting here is not an accurate representation of what you're trying to do.
It absolutely is.
It absolutely is not. Okay, now I'm trying not to be obstructionist, but the stairway you said is not going where that is, and you didn't know why it was there on the picture. So I am comfortable with Chase's request of what is it now? What will it be tomorrow, and then put the 2 together. I like the color.
Yeah, I'll get
you have here.
So I'll do that, and we'll
I agree with Chase. The 2 different views will definitely help to guide. I wasn't around in 2016 on the board, so I can't speak to any of the stuff that's been brought up around there. But I think we all want the same thing, for you to be able to do what you want to do while still following the requirements. And the concern that I feel, and maybe it's being expressed by others, is that what we're seeing here is not the final desire, final plan, I guess is a better way to put it. So that's all I'm not trying to be adversary.
Also, Ed, the question comes up on the waiver. So I'm unclear if there is an inch of work in the 0 to 50, and if there is, the waiver needs to be filed.
I'll get the waiver filed. I do
Well,
understand that there is some demo in the 50.
Right,
so-
there's
Yeah, I was
some
gonna say,
stuff.
it's clear that there is work being done in the 50 because
Yeah.
part of that deck has to come down.
Yeah, so I'll provide the waiver. Absolutely, yeah. The deck removal is in the 50, and there's work in the 50 because of that.
Yeah, that's pretty significant, taking down the deck,
Yep.
you know, with the
Okay, great, thank
But
you, Ed. I would like to
In the
ask.
interest though, Sarah, let me jump in before we go. So other things that we're going to look for, Kyle, are going to be, I think Amy outlined some of these in her email, but take those to be at least my recommendations as well. We're going to want to know, where is material to be stockpiled? Where's the actual extent of work? I believe you have sediment and erosion controls on here. But we want to understand what the replanting is going to look like post construction, right? If you're going to pull this back, there's going to be a whole graded area. What's that going to be replanted with? And what's the plan for managing that while it grows in?
So no plants are being disturbed in the construction. So I don't know if I need to replant.
Well, there were the 12 trees that were taken down in 2016.
Oh, we're talking
And-
2016.
and
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
also-
okay. To remedy
you-
that, yeah.
You're pulling the house and the deck back, right?
Yeah, but there's no trees being removed in my construction now.
Wasn't talking about trees necessarily, right? We're going to have
Oh, you mentioned
what
trees.
what seed mixes are we going to use, right? Like, are you proposing to put any other plantings in there? What is the ground cover going to look like in the area where the deck is being pulled back from, right? These are all questions that we're going to ask you and are going to want to understand.
Okay, with that said, I'd
So
like
that's on the
to ask
third-
the commissioner, Kyle, not to be confused with Kyle, the applicant, if he has any questions for the applicant.
I think you guys have been pretty thorough here. I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Michael, do you have any questions?
No, not at this point. I'm just trying to keep up with it.
Okay,
Yeah, I think you were gonna ask where the seed mix on your proposed conditions plan. That's where we'd want to see what you're gonna plant for a seed mix.
Like what kind of grass seed I'm going to plant?
Or what you're gonna plant there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the three, I got a note for 3 plants. So one is just with the existing structure on it. One is with just proposed, and then the third is layered. Oh yeah, the third is what we have.
So-
Okay, so that's the 3 plants, and then we'll all be on board. Stockpile location, I will have on here, which is going to be actually in this paved area up in this corner. So that will be good. The waiver, the waiver.
and your deck,
you guys wanna wait till
the deck that's on here that is to the lower right where it says 214, that's not supposed to be there, or stairs, remove that for accuracy.
the stairs?
Proposed.
the stairs you said we're not
The
gonna.
lower
yes,
ones
yeah,
that aren't
yeah.
supposed to be there to make
Yeah,
the plan
absolutely.
accurate.
Yep. And I'll get rid of these notes that say approximate.
And any plantings, putting trees and so forth. And what
Okay,
kind?
and some plantings. All right. Do you guys want me to plant some trees? I wasn't going to plant any trees.
I think when we do
Yeah,
this,
I'll do a
I think
proposed plan on.
you've got many commissioners that have never been out on the site, so
Yeah,
I
let's
think,
have a site walk. Should
so
we
I think
schedule
it's early to do that. So to
Early
plant
to do
trees.
that.
So
Okay.
I would like to see the new plans. But that's up to the commissioners.
And if this works for the commission, I think what you'd probably want to do is just resubmit all this stuff with a cover letter. That'll list out what you're including and also include the dock and say that you want that to be part of the order conditions. Give the dimensions of the dock. And I
So
did.
the docks
Assume that's seasonal and where it
completely
goes.
removable. Yeah, everybody in the lake has one. You guys just did a demo at 49. Did they get a dock permit? They have a dock.
Everybody's going to be
Like-
getting dock permits, Kyle.
I'm sure
Yeah,
that came up in there. Well, I mean, they proposed the
No,
demo.
but we've
I
started,
proposed a
the
demo.
commission's made a motion that every new applicant that comes in that has a dock, they're
Starting with me.
No,
Nope,
no.
not starting with
So
you.
49 Mattawanna applied for a job.
Actually, it is starting with Kyle.
Yeah, starting
You,
with
you
me.
happen to be the first one, Cal, but not.
Under the new policy, which is letting you do a separate combined permit for the dock instead of paying for a whole new permit.
So 4 years ago when they started, that wasn't an option. All right. All right.
Technically speaking, they should all have been permitted for a long time, but
Yes.
we're trying to get caught up with that.
Yeah, don't
I just
think
figured
we're not
since the
trying
demo
to.
down the street had similar construction, it would have come up with them also, but that's all right.
All right, we're gonna keep moving along.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna wait. We're gonna, instead of doing a site walk, we're gonna talk again.
We're gonna meet on July 23rd, and if you can submit all your work before, it has to be in the Thursday before the Tuesday meeting in order to be heard. So you've got a couple weeks.
Okay.
We're still waiting on a DEP number, right? So we don't even know.
So, okay. Thank you, Kyle.
Matt Morrow's
Matt has
here
his,
now.
Matt has his hand up, sir.
So, Matt, quickly, we're moving on. Do you have anything to add?
Just a quick question. Amy, when I submitted the notice of intent on Kyle's behalf, I did submit a waiver request form. Did you not receive that, or is there more that needs to be added to it?
Yeah, let me double check on that. Because as you say it, I mean, Paul, it should have been posted on with the rest of it. So
Yeah,
I'll
if-
double check on that.
I've got a PDF copy saved in my files. If you can't find it, let me know. I'll email it
Yeah,
over to you.
absolutely. All right, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thanks,
Okay.
Matt.
Yep. Moving on, we're now going to hear it's 8:18. We're going to hear the 8 o'clock public hearing. Notice of intent, Hartwell Conservation Land, Mass DEP. Oh, there is no number. R17-5-1 bylaw waiver required construction of a boardwalk. Tim?
All right, I'm gonna share my screen here. Uh, Not letting me share my screen. Oh, what the heck? All right, my Zoom is being pretty funky here. Amy, any chance you can pull it up? It's on the website.
Yeah, I'm trying to get in there.
I've got it on my computer. I don't recognize this Zoom. Zoom did something weird for me now.
This is, what one are we doing? Hartwell?
We're doing Hartwell. Oh, hold up. Here we go. I got it.
Oh, okay. I just got it too.
Here we go. All right. So this is for the construction of an 80-foot boardwalk right back here by this red X. Let's see. It is in priority habitat of, I believe it's Jefferson salamander that they got back there. Haven't heard back from Natural Heritage yet. Sorry about this. A lot of pages here. All right, here's a picture of where the boardwalk's going to go. This wasn't necessarily taken during the the wettest time of the year, so it definitely gets a bit wetter than this. But we've got it flagged off. We do not have a DEP file number for this yet.
What's the material for the construction?
Hold up, I got the plan here somewhere. It's sideways. It's gonna be sitting on timber sills. So there won't be any corrugated pipe.
So no plastic pipe, no corrugate, so no pipe at all?
Nope. Just wood.
What's the distance between the spans?
Let me see. Sorry, I'm having to turn my computer sideways here.
You should be able to rotate it up in the top bar there.
Can you? It won't rotate the rest of the
Was it like 3
here we
feet?
go.
There you
More now. Thanks, Amy. Yeah, so 8 feet.
Okay.
You said that there were Jefferson salamanders, so I'm assuming that there needs to be some mitigation when you're building this to not affect their habitat.
So the mitigation for this would be to prevent the continued trampling of the existing trail right now.
So the Jeffersons will be able to freely pass back
Yeah.
and forth.
Right, and it's
Looking to
gonna
avoid
protect them in the long run.
I was talking about when you're actually building it, there's no habitat of theirs that you need to be careful of while this is being built. That's why I was wondering.
They'd be breeding way out in the wetland, and then when they're
Okay.
not doing their breeding, they're way up in the
They're
uplands.
burrowed.
Okay. Okay,
And-
that's
and-
what I was.
Natural Heritage might come back and give us conditions, but we haven't heard back from them yet, so.
When did you apply to Heritage?
Oh, man, this one was, I want to say it was the end of May. I think it was May 24th was when I sent it in.
That makes sense. So they're just backed up. What's your ideal time frame to build this? What season? What conditions?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer to
Who is this, a Jim O'Neill
As soon as,
project?
This
as
is a
soon as
Jim
Jim
O'Neill.
O'Neill has time.
Yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
is this, I mean, is it on his docket for this year? I know he's got a lot going on.
It is.
Okay.
Is this a
Cloverdale's,
potential Boy Scout project or no?
if someone stepped up,
It's not to get done this year. If there's a scout looking to do a project that's not on their list this year, it's a year worth of planning.
already permitted.
Yeah.
Is-
Right,
is
right. It's
this-
permitted through us and everything else, but it's not through scouts. So they have to jump through
Is,
their own
is
hoops.
this being built in the same manner that all the other boardwalks have been built? The same construction method?
No, that's what we were saying. It's not the plastic pipe that he usually uses, right? He's using just timber on this.
Yeah, we go both ways. We've been doing a
Yeah.
lot of pipe recently, but since it is so low
Okay.
and it's just muddy, it's not like water's flowing through there.
Okay.
How are you gonna get all the materials in? I only saw the map briefly, but it looked like the site
it's
is quite a
just-
ways in.
You can get down there. Phil Pitterino lives up at the parking lot, and his son has been actually a huge help taking stuff down with his four-wheeler for some of the other stuff we've done on Hartwell. So it'll be something similar. It's a pretty big, wide, dry trail to get down there from the parking lot.
Are the 6x6 is pressure treated?
Yes. That's all the PTs is pressure treated.
Oh,
this is-
sorry,
this is
I
where-
didn't see that originally.
Yep. And this is already in the budget. We're hoping to do it this year. Worst case, this is a 3-year permanent and maybe it'll take that long, but
So because we haven't heard back from Heritage and we do not have the Mass DEP number, are we just putting this on hold? Seeing if we have support, verbal just support by the commission at this time?
Yep.
Okay. Commissioners have any thoughts? Are we good to keep it going forward and just waiting to see when we get permits and permission?
Yep, sounds good to me.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, so this will be continued. We're gonna now do, it's 8:25, we're gonna do the 8:15 public hearing notice of intent, Long Lake Park, 11 Queen Road. We do not have Mass DEP public number, U15-34-0, U24-3-0 bylaw, waiver required, construction of a boardwalk. Tim, this is yours. as well.
Oh, I'm back. Let's see. All right. There we go. All right. So right about at the entrance of Long Lake Park from the Queen Road entrance, it doesn't take long after you get in there. It gets super wet. So this is for the construction of a 160-foot boardwalk, represented by this red line right here. Let me see if I can, got a picture here somewhere. So yep, this is where it's going to go. It's going to start here, and I should have another picture here that shows from the the back view. So it's a pretty lengthy one. This area does get pretty wet, as you can see by the discoloration of the leaves and the ground. Let me pull up the plan. So this one's going to be sitting on tough blocks.
Is this the entrance to I always get the name wrong.
Yeah, Long Lake. It's one of the entrances to Long Lake Park. It's the one off of Queen Road.
Okay, that's not.
Sort of near the beach.
Yeah.
Sure.
So this one's sitting on tough blocks. I don't believe there's any pipe with this one either.
How high are those?
I don't see it on the plan here.
Yeah, I forget the height. It's interesting because it's a side slope. It's a seep, which is why you can see it's kind of stepping along there. Because the water is just coming down the hill.
Yeah, and we looked into ways where we can maybe even reroute the trail if it weren't to disturb adjacent BVW. There's no way. There's BVW all around that area. Wouldn't be able to reroute it. So
Okay.
This going to affect the Appleman results? Isn't that the end of the
is
run?
that the triathlon? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, they go through there? At that
In
end?
my head, the answer is yes, but I'm not certain.
Yeah. We'll make them
Tim,
call some money.
Tim, did you know that?
I had no idea. No, nobody told me about that.
Might have
That
to look at
last
that. 'Cause
nightmare at the end of the run. So
right, because that's not going to be able to support that type of volume.
I thought
Right.
they ran through
I could
Prouty
be
and
wrong,
Morgan.
but that's right.
I thought the run was through Prouty and Morgan area. They swam over, well, I forget.
All right.
We'll look
Tim,
it up.
Tim, if you could double check on that.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
And this is not in Heritage, correct?
Correct. There's
Okay.
no.
So, and is this a Jim O'Neill project?
This is another Jim O'Neill project.
And this has been budgeted for already?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So waiver required, we're waiting for a DEP number. Who's going to help build this one?
You mean Jim?
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Is Jim getting any
Jim-
help?
Jim will definitely get help. He really likes doing things himself to make sure it's done to his exacting standards. He does a really good build job. So he'll probably get at very least like all the tough blocks set and the sills set. And then a lot of people can come in and help with the planking.
Okay.
With 160 feet, that's going to take,
Okay. Commissioners have any questions? So it sounds like we have tentative support, just waiting on DEP numbers.
Could be a while.
continue to July 23rd.
Okay. All right, it's now 8:30. We're going to open up the 8:20 continued public hearing notice of intent for Spec Pond Road, Mass DEP. I thought that, oh yeah, that's right. They still don't have,
Yeah.
they have been waiting the longest. They still don't have their number, bylaw required. There's been a lot of data and feedback on this construction of a commercial building and associated work. That note is old where it says continue to June 18th.
Oh, yep, that should be on there.
Okay.
Yep, Seth is here and Steve's, I think, coming in.
Okay. Seth, it's all yours. I know there's been a lot of emails.
There has been. So, commission members, this is Seth Donahoe with Dillis and Roy. I'm here tonight on behalf of Steve Brightmeyer of Bright Excavating. Steve is the applicant, and he has been with you with Paul McManus of Ecotech, who started this conversation with you. This is migrated to the commission electing to have Green International conduct a peer review, and we've been working through that process. We received their latest peer review on July 1st, and we sent over a reply on the 5th for that. So I believe many of the technical comments are all the way addressed, and if they haven't been yet, we will certainly work with Green to continue to do that. And in their matrix, there's a spreadsheet of items, and there's several items that they have deferred to the commission. They were highlighted in red on the plan, so essentially they've said that it's not really up to them, it's more up to you guys. So I would like to recap how we got here and then run through kind of an executive summary of some of the things that Green and myself and Mr. Brightmeyer are looking for the commission's direct input on. I believe we're reaching close to a finish line on this, and we want to make sure everyone's desires are incorporated in this.
Yep.
Is it all right to share my screen tonight?
Yes, thank you, Seth. Seth, I think that matrix and the color coding was well done, whoever designed that and laid that out. I went through the
Yep.
last revisions.
I
That's
can't take credit for that. That's Green.
Yeah.
Okay,
So they did a nice job though. So it's crystal clear in terms of what's been addressed, what's still being addressed, and what is kind of an opinion item.
okay,
So as we've discussed, this is the existing site, essentially a cleared former gravel pit. Has both riverfront area and wetland buffer zones on it. It has an earthen berm around the entire perimeter. It's about 3 feet high in most spots, and that separates our working area from the adjacent resource areas. So there's already I wouldn't call it a natural erosion control barrier, but it's been there for decades. So it's vegetated on the backside, and it's preventing products of erosion from leaving the site. We are working entirely within that area with the exception of a small corner of the site, which is down in this area. And as you mentioned in the introduction, we are proposing to build a commercial building. The footprint is right in this area here, and there's associated parking area to provide access to the building, as well as stormwater management system. We're subject to DEP stormwater standard requirements, and we're also a redevelopment of an existing site. This project was subject to a prior order of conditions, several permitting efforts throughout the year, all of which were successful, but Mr. Brightmeyer just has never decided to build it. So we're back before the commission at this point. As far as the plans go, there are a couple key items that the commission has asked the applicant to incorporate. One of those is the restoration of some plowing damage that was done by others. There's been some discussion in the email chains about the specifics of the sign, and I will get back to that, but we have very specific details on the plan right now, that area in here. I believe these are items that the applicant will be willing to adjust should the commission desire. Certainly a condition of approval if the commission wanted a certain height or a certain size of the sign. So that was one of the items. The other item that, and probably the biggest item that's been keyed out for the commission's opinion, is that there are 3 areas that are subject to work within the 50-foot buffer zone. So Ecotech had submitted the waiver request prior to your last meeting or shortly thereafter. And those 3 items, one of them is exactly as I discussed. It's the repair of the plowing damage that's on the access road in this area. The other section is a restoration of a portion of the riverfront area, and Ecotech had given a planting specifications and construction methods for that. And the final thing is there's a portion of a stormwater management basin. And the reason that stormwater management basin is there is essentially to minimize disturbances. It's using the existing berm as a portion of its sidewall, and it's an existing natural low point of the site. So those are the 3 items that would be subject to the 50-foot waiver request. We'd hope to be able to work with the commission on those items. There were some other, and I will pull up that actual spreadsheet at this point. I think that'll be easier.
Before you do that, can you go where's the 50-foot on the map? Okay, so the blue is 100 feet.
So the blue is the 100-foot riparian zone. So essentially Bennett's Brook is the town line behind the site, I would call it. The orange lines are the 50 and 100-foot buffer zone, which basically circle the site. So you can see we have a restoration of 3,400 square feet of existing degraded area. Most of that is within the 50-foot buffer zone. This is the small stormwater basin that we're asking for relief from. A portion of that is within the 50-foot buffer zone. And then the final item is the actual restoration of the plowing damage by others. You can see there's there's a extension of the wetland series that goes along the raised access road. So this is probably the closest point, but it's a restoration only activity. So Mr. Brightmeyer's agreed to remove the plowed debris in there, permanently protect it, and then put signage also to prevent the future reoccurrence of plowing damage.
Thank you.
Seth, one thing that might help us here is if you, and maybe it's quantified, and if it is and I haven't noticed, I apologize. Quantifying for us the ratio of area that will be restored within the 50-foot versus the ratio that will versus the area that will be disturbed outside of that restoration area. Essentially, what we're looking for is, are we talking about sort of a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 or 5-to-1 restoration relative to
So that is something that has not been called out. There's been a lot of numbers related to improvement, reducing the degraded area, increasing the naturalized area on the site. Those tabulations aren't in the plan, but I'll make sure that we incorporate that. And I assume you're looking for a ratio in the 2-to-1 range.
I'd be interested to see what you have here.
Okay.
I think we're typically looking for as high as is reasonably achievable, and my intuition, just looking at the plan, says that you're going to be well in excess of sort of the 2 to 3-to-1 kind of range that we are typically looking for.
Yeah. So the restoration of the existing degraded area, that's the round numbers 3,400 square feet. So that's doing double duty. It's taking care of the degraded, and it's also positioned in a point where it's actually within the 50-foot buffer zone. So I'll quantify those numbers on our plan for you. And if we need to increase those too, that's something that's doable.
Appreciate it.
So I've touched on a lot of the items that Green has left outstanding, and those are the red items on this sheet here. So yellow items were subject to our most recent reply to Green, and we're awaiting their reply again. I trust that they haven't had time to review that yet, and so we'll continue to work with them on the yellow items. White items are things that have been acknowledged to be addressed. The red items, exactly as Green, this is Green's comment. They're deferring to the commission on this, and this is what we just talked about: the changes, grade changes, and the alterations within the 50-foot no disturb area. The next item related to the specifications of the no plowing sign. This actually flows on to the next page where they've gone through. We provided some details related to that. They'd be looking for your input on that. There's some discussion about the installation of the well, and I think there was some confusion in that typically there would be a dewatering area for the actual installation when they flush the well, and they put the bentonite clay to seal it. But as I mentioned in the beginning, the area where this well is going is actually about 3 feet lower than the adjacent resource area. So there's already a berm there. We've specified on the erosion and sedimentation control plan that the area down gradient of the proposed well installation would have an erosion control barrier. And if the commission so desired, we could also specify that any dewatering with the flushing of the well will to occur up gradient, which is outside of the 50-foot buffer zone.
Yeah, that would be great to put on the plan.
So I want to be clear, will occur up gradient and will be infiltrated up gradient, right? Like I don't just want a fire hose at 55 feet.
Correct. So the site is essentially a former gravel pit. So it's underlain by sand and gravel. So we could easily scoop down an appropriate area for the flushing, and that'll be infiltrated away from the area. So we can
understood. Just want to make sure
specify
we're
that.
dotting the i's and crossing the t's on that.
No, and we'd rather make sure that we're shooting at the same target than specify the wrong thing and then nobody's happy about it.
Now, Seth, I think this came up one of the first times we heard this, but and it's sort of outside of the commission's purview here, but the water quality issues with the groundwater there are maybe
the water quality
challenging.
issue is the dump is next door. And
No, I'm aware. I guess my issue is if we're dewatering water and re-infiltrating it, are we moving around impacted groundwater? That's my bigger issue, not so much the infiltration.
yeah, I know from other work I've done, the actual groundwater gradient is unfortunately it's going towards the town's wells, which are away from our site. It's going the far away down Spectacle Pond Road. So in theory, we would be pulling from the cleaner side of things, but we can certainly.
That whole aquifer is in a tough spot. I think when you come back, I would like to understand what we know collectively about the water quality that you'll be extracting there. And frankly, your client is probably going to be interested in that to the extent that they're installing a well.
Correct. So we fully acknowledge that we have to meet the Board of Health's well water quality and quantity standards in this. And if not, there would need to be some treatment integrated in the building. That would be outside of the discussions before the Conservation Commission, but something that would have to be done. But we can certainly come back to you with mitigation for the actual flushing activities when they're drilling it as well.
Yeah, what I want to avoid is moving around impacted groundwater.
Understood.
They're putting their own well in because there's no town water available.
Correct. So Spectacle Pond Road is recently paved. It's under a moratorium for a number of years. While there is water available in Spectacle Pond Road, just back of the napkin guess, I think we're probably, I'm going to guess 700 feet or so from the road. So it's a lengthy run for it.
Yeah. Not worth it. Yeah.
The other items were, I was actually on your last meeting. Green has deferred to the commission if Ecotech's restoration plan is agreeable to the commission. That would be item 17A. And the final item on this tabulation is that we are in habitat. Paul McManus has indeed submitted concurrently with the notice of intent the streamlined NHESP filing, and he's also confirmed that there was a building change after your initial site meeting with Paul and Steve. You guys had asked to make a couple changes, and the current configuration has also been sent to Natural Heritage. So we're awaiting a reply on that is agreeable to them. I expect it will be. If not, that is something that's out of our control, and we'll have to appease Natural Heritage in that. And that is really it. Everything else has to do with the 50-foot no disturb zone that we've requested a waiver for on this.
Well, but number 28 has to do with stormwater standards.
Correct. So this is a redevelopment, and as I said, we're using the existing berm as a essentially a sidewall of a very small basin in this case. So the standards present guidelines that would say that we need to be 50 feet away from wetlands. We've asked you for a waiver to allow this to be in the existing low point. If the commission is not agreeable to that, we could certainly relocate this small structure and mitigate it elsewhere on the site. But I believe that it's the appropriate place for it, and it's doing double duty in that by putting the basin there, it's providing a long-term permanent increased separation between the working area of the site and the actual resource area as well. So the entire cleared area of the site is used to this very day. And so this will provide an increased buffer between the edge of the berm and the working area of the site.
We all good with that present location? I am.
I'm generally good with it too, Sarah. I will air the same comment I've aired with every other infiltration basin, which is that I generally think they're not maintained and they're not adequately sized for actual human uses. And so here, I do think we need to acknowledge the fact that the applicant is going to be on the hook for maintaining this. And I just don't like infiltration basins for 1,000 reasons.
On the hook to maintain, but who enforces?
I mean, strictly speaking, we would enforce here, and that's where I get nervous about things like this because they get lost in the process pretty easily, right? We're not looking at infiltration basins at every site, but I know damn well every infiltration basin I drive by in town is not functioning the way it was designed to. I mean, they silt in, they're not maintained.
Right, we all agree, but yeah.
So
I think this goes to one of the items, which is a condition of approval. There is an operation and maintenance plan I respect that there's probably not as much teeth as you would like in that, but the applicant is willing to sign that, that biannual inspection at a minimum, and then it defines what'll be done if it's silted up or if it's not functioning as well.
And Seth, I think one of the comments that you could fold into here that would put me at ease a touch is to make sure that the operation and maintenance plan includes sweeping of paved areas on a periodic basis, once a year, twice a year, or something like that, you know, at the end of the winter or something like that, to further extend the life of these infiltration
Yeah,
basins.
there's no problem. I can speak, I've known Mr. Breitmeyer for probably the better part of 20 years, and I have worked with him on many infiltration basins, detention basins, subsurface areas. If there's a guy that's actually in a position to take care of them, it's actually the applicant in this case. So
I appreciate that, but properties change hands and so on. So.
understood. So that is a high level view of what we've come back to you with. Unfortunately, we're waiting for a DEP file number. Sounds like several of your applicants are in the same
Yep.
boat, including the town itself at this point. So unless the commission has any changes that they're looking to incorporate, we will commit to continuing to work with Green on resolving these items. If the commission has any changes they want us to incorporate other than the notes and the items we discussed tonight, we'd be happy to discuss those as well.
So Seth, we meet on July 23rd, so we would move this to that further date.
Steve's on the call. I'll defer to him if that's fine.
Yep,
So-
that's fine.
Okay. I would hope that would keep moving, or you could defer to August 6th, but we can always meet on the 23rd. If things aren't ready, we can still then push to the 6th.
Yeah,
fine.
I think we'd rather keep the earlier date, and if we're still in a holding pattern, we'll let you know.
Okay. So
And if I may, can I run through the conditions I've heard to date
yes, please.
real quick to make sure? Verifying the sign location for the snowplow piece of it. Monitoring, and you figure out whether it's 2 or 3 years, whatever, of the riverfront restoration area and the snowplow area. Any dewoodering for the well will be outside 50 feet and will be infiltrated. The O&M should include sweeping if it doesn't already. And then I didn't know if you also wanted to add that when they come in for the certificate of compliance, that Seth or whoever does the certificate of compliance confirms that the infiltration basin, at least at that point, is functioning.
Yes.
I think those are the basics of what I had.
Amy, I know we've considered we've written conditions in the past, and I can't remember if they were ultimately implemented, that essentially say that the applicant will provide some sort of infiltrometer testing in the future at the request of the Conservation Commission, if we so, deem it. If we see an issue with it, I can't remember exactly what we had, but we had some language around there about testing infiltration rates.
So that usually refers to when they come in for their certificate of compliance at that time, although we could put it in a condition of perpetuity, that if there is an issue that the commission may require demonstration through something like an O-ring.
I like that avenue better than.
Yeah, my affection for infiltration basins makes me think that's probably a better course.
Yeah.
I'll put your phone number on that one.
Yeah. You can change those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, does any other commissioners have any questions or comments? Okay. We thank you, Mr. Breitmeyer and Seth, for coming in, and look forward to seeing you on the 23rd.
Thanks. We'll
Thank
see
you.
you then.
And Seth, at the very least, I would suggest someone call DEP again and find out what's going on.
Yeah, well,
You're an outlier. on how
Yeah,
long
you
it's been.
definitely have been waiting the longest.
no, I see where we've been skipped over on the list. So
Yeah.
we'll poke the bear.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one final administrative discussion, and it has been before us many times, and that is enforcement order on 15 Powers Road. We are at a impasse. So, Amy can tell you a little bit about this, but we have some options, and option maybe DEP or legal counsel. It sounds like Amy has done everything and Tim's done everything to try and get them in front of us, but
Yeah, so I had hand delivered finally the EO around 6 or 7 some evening. He was out there. And he said he would get in touch, and he didn't, and all the stuff that went certified mail got returned. It was never picked up. And I was able to call him a week and a half or so ago. I got his phone number, and he said he wasn't sure if he'd be able to make it tonight. And should I can send him the stuff. He said, send me the agenda. I said, I don't have your email. He said, I will text it to you. I said, you can't text it to me because I'm on a landline. He said, well, then why don't you text me? And I said, again, I'm on a landline. So I used my personal phone and have texted him 2 or 3 times. And I copied Tim on this, so there's someone else in the loop, saying, are you going to be able to make it? Or at the very least, can you give us some times? And I know it might be an evening or a weekend when we can do a site walk, and nothing.
do you feel like we have enough photographs that we can go to council or DEP?
Can always do more photographs. We just got some great aerial photographs, as of, I think, yesterday, that I haven't, logged into yet, that are incredibly clear, and they go back several years. So I think they could be a really good thing to add to the basis.
Commissioners, what would you like to do? Do we want to start with council or DEP? I lean more DEP, but
Yeah, I think DEP, it appears there's been wetland fill. I certainly can't prove it standing at the road. And DEP is more than happy, well, more likely to get involved if there is a wetland fill rather than just sort of a buffer zone issue. And I had told them that, DEP is likely to step in if we can't get things moving. So,
but DEP has the authority to go on site, and presently we do not.
I'm not sure DEP does.
Oh,
Yeah, that's often an issue.
okay.
Unless you get a warrant, basically. So they usually recommend try, let's, all figure this out, which I'd say 99% of the time works. And we get on the site and can look at it and figure something out. But so far have not been able to do that with this guy.
So hypothetically, if we connect with town council, what's the hook to get them in for the July meeting, unless we state to council that there would be retroactive fines from when you were first notified? Like, there has to be some type of an incentive to be like,
Yes.
yeah, come in
So
August, they'll come in
I would want,
September.
the main reason I'd want to get in touch with town council is just to run through with them again on fines and penalties. And when we can start, can we do retroactive? And DEP, I think at the least might be willing to write a stern letter. I'm not sure how quickly they could or couldn't do that. Judy Schmidt is probably who I'd want to talk to, and I know she's on vacation till the 17th, I think, something like that.
Uh-huh.
But I can talk to somebody else down at DEP too. And I got no problem. There's no reason not to do a 2-prong approach here.
Commissioners, what are your thoughts?
Have we started the clock? Have we started the tab running in terms of fines and penalties?
You would have to
Formally?
look for that.
Then I move that the Littleton Conservation Commission begin to enforce or begin to implement fines associated with the enforcement order at 15 Powers.
We need a second.
I would
Second.
second if I knew what the fine was going to be.
It's small.
not
It's like
much.
$100 a day, every day.
So meaningless to the scout.
Yep. So, all right, so Michael seconded. We need a roll call.
Sounds good. Ed Schultz,
At full side.
Michael Livingston,
Michael Livingston, aye.
Chase Gerbic,
Chase Gerbeck, aye.
Sarah Seward,
Sarah Seward, aye.
and myself, Kyle Maxfield. That passes unanimously.
So Amy, you
Sorry, I
could,
sidetracked you there, Sarah, but that's one
Yep.
prong that I think we should implement.
so that vote is very helpful. Amy can reference that when speaking with council and DEP. But I think we all agree both just to run the parallel lines and just keep going with both. And you could also, so something could get in the mail in the next couple days, send it another, either through certified. Apparently it's just not picking them up, but then you can say that just FYI, your fines are clicking.
Absolutely, I would send it certified, and I usually have been sending a copy, also just regular first class. But of course, we have no proof that got delivered
Sure.
if you do first class.
But we tried. Okay.
But at least it's right in his mailbox.
Okay. Anything else? It is.
Nope. So Webster's been officially bought. And I'm going to start the CR process with the Conservation Trust slowly. And we got the drawdown reports, which I don't think I sent to you for Forge Pond, the annual report. So I'll send those around. You let me know if you think it's worth having them come in to go over it or not. But we can discuss that on the 23rd if you want.
When was the last drawdown? Successful drawdown that we didn't have to stop halfway?
Oh, I'm not sure. Yeah, because they didn't get all the way last year, did they? I can't remember. I can't remember.
I can't remember when the last successful one was either. So
Yeah, there's
Been a while.
nature always does something stupid.
Okay. Might be worth just having someone come in. 2 shout outs. One for Chase for really doing the yeoman's work with Webster. Thank you for keeping up and being diligent with that. And the other is that Andrew Samarco got voted in as assistant town clerk last night by the Board of Selectmen. So everyone's very happy with that. And that does not preclude him from staying on all his committees. He can stay on.
Answering the question I was about to ask.
Oh, believe me.
The first and only question I asked.
Yep. So, okay.
Chase, did you
Hopefully
get-
he clarified that before he went in for that role, right?
Exactly.
He clarified that first.
Hopefully, yeah. Do we have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I move that we adjourn.
Okay, it is now 9 p.m. Do we have a second?
second,
Okay, thank you, Michael.
Yeah,
Last roll call.
Ed Volz,
Full time.
Michael Livingston,
Michael Livingston, aye.
Chase Gerbic,
Chase Gerbeck, aye.
Sarah Seward,
Sarah Seward, aye.
and myself, Kyle Maxfield, aye.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Stay cool, everybody.